How can we deal with our negative emotions without a tool? Well, okay. I have a question. The question is, why would you want to? That's just, you don't have to answer that. But that's the thought. Because, I mean, I think there is. But it's a good question. So, actually, I've been thinking about this, and I wanted to do something. But I don't know why. It's so weird. How heavy do you think that book is? How much do you think that weighs? 200 grams? No, I mean, I don't know.
No idea.
Let's just say it weighs 200 grams. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I don't know why I'm doing this, but so there. 200 grams, right?
I don't feel the weight of the book anymore. Yeah.
You feel okay, but let's just say okay now. Let's do this.
Oh, yeah.
Now the book hasn't changed, right? The weight of the book hasn't changed. It's still 200 grams.
Yeah.
But it feels heavy.
Yes. Totally.
So I'm just thinking, I don't know about it. So now it's really heavy, man. If we get long enough, you wouldn't be able to hold it at all. So yeah.
Oh, this is cool. Yeah, it's really. So the point, can you explain?
I was thinking about this before this question.
Can you put it here again?
Yeah. It's a good book, by the way.
Yeah. Why close?
I was thinking it in terms of the common concept of denial. When we try to distance ourselves from our pain, it actually becomes heavier. When we don't distance ourselves from it, the closer we can get it to us, the heavier, the less mass it is. That was just my thought. Just a bad analogy, but and then so the question really is, what is denial? I have no idea. It doesn't matter. But anyways, that was just a thought. Now your question about a tool.
Yes.
Anything that's physical requires energy. It is energy. So just being mass is energy. But anytime you want to move mass, it requires energy to move mass. And the less mass that's involved in your life, the less energy that's required. So, in answering the question, having a physical tool, now the physical tool in your case would be drawing, the guitar, right? And those tools are very effective at helping you deal with pain, suffering, whatever. Yeah. Okay. So is there a way to deal with these things without a tool? Well, that would be no mass then. It would just be, well, I would just say meditation. And then, because you don't invoke anything in meditation, you're not talking, because talking is mass. You have to move all this stuff. Typically, you're not invoking ideology to some extent. That's debatable. That's mass too, I would say. So anyway, my answer would be, yeah, sure, I would be really good at meditation. But on the other hand, I don't really know, because I think the point is to create something new with the suffering. So I think meditation is good when you don't have your tools. But when you have your tools, you should create something. That's what I would say. For me, So I would use that. I think it works faster to get it out. I'm thinking aloud.
So can what you're saying actually be said as feeling for real instead of distancing you?
Yeah, definitely feel it, because when you, especially if you're like, just let's use the music analogy. I mean, I read a great story yesterday. This famous guitarist, he says, look, he watches YouTube and there's these 5-year-old guitarists that he could never be. But that doesn't mean it means they're really technically adept, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're making really moving music. Whatever, I mean, it's just an analogy. So the point was, well, the more you really feel this, and technically, as you get technically better, the more you can express the subtleties of those feelings. So yeah, you really want to feel that, because that becomes nuances. In music, in writing, it becomes nuances. In art, it becomes nuances. Well, I don't know. I'm not saying all artists feel a lot, but I'm just saying, at least in this case, yeah, I mean, what would I have if I didn't have those feelings? What would I have? I mean, there'd be nothing new. There would be no poetry. There would be no music. There'd be, who knows? I don't know. Would there be buildings? Would there be any? Would we have recrafted the earth like we have if we didn't feel something? Not that we did a good job.
Yeah. So use the tool when you have the tool.
Find the tool,
But
then use
find
it.
the tool.
Yeah, and maybe it changes, right? So my normal tool was writing, but then due to some things, I thought I'll need another tool. So I got another tool, and then I'll do that tool for a while, and even within the tool, you can innovate. So maybe that computer isn't the best for writing, but it's great for surfing the web. So whatever, if you can afford to buy tools. If you can't, then you have to find other tools. But I would say definitely create. We say instantiate, bring to physical form this feeling. Yeah, because you're unique in what you feel. Right? Your experiences are unique. You bring a unique vessel to the feeling process. So only you can craft that thing. And I think that's what the universe wants. It wants to express. That's what evolution is about. It's expressing these new things. And why bother? It's taken 13.7 billion years to create you. What's the point of doing all that, going through all that trouble to give you all these experiences if it didn't want to do something with it, you know? It seemed like a shame. It's a waste of it.
Yeah, I thought about that too, and like I came up with this quote for myself that like I am such an emotional creature that sometimes I feel like it's a curse. Without a tool, I feel like it's a curse, but with the tool, I feel like it's a gift.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And some people would probably say the opposite in a culture where you are supposed to show emotion. It's also always relative, your environment. You are always relative, your environment, and your expression of you. But one thing that I would say that is my conclusion, that oppression of any emotion, even if it's just internally, can never be good. Physiologically, you start feeling it in the body. You have to deal with whatever emotion comes, and I think it's also like a knee pain. Pain is supposed to be felt so that I can adjust it and correct my knee pain equally as my heart or my suffering pain, so to say. And that's why grieving is very important. But that can also mean that grieving can be 30 seconds and it can be 30 years. Whatever emotions are needed there.
But without a tool is to practice meditation, right? It's like I think it's actually I feel like I already knew the answer that like yeah, you just gotta like keep aware of whatever that feelings that happens inside of you, which like meditation will be the great tool for that to help you practice.
Yeah. Good.
And the creative meditations are good because let's say your tool is drawing, but you don't have your tool with it. Well, you can draw in your mind. But in your mind, you're not limited to A4. You could have a canvas as big as the universe. You can draw with the stars. Yeah. So in that sense, it's far more an effective tool. It's unlimited.
What about what if I have like negative thoughts while I'm doing creative meditation? What should I do with those negative thoughts?
That's a good question.
I would think them. Yeah, I mean, well, it depends. You know, what a negative thought is for you. You have, yeah. I guess I don't know what. a negative thought for you is. I mean,
Like
there's a reason you have that thought.
negative experience, like in
Yeah.
the past, or like, yeah,
Maybe you hurt somebody or someone hurts you or
Yeah.
something happened.
yeah, something happened, and I felt hurt in that moment, and I feel like I'm still carrying that painful feeling like with me, and it's not like with me all the time, but I feel like it's still there, like, yeah.
Would you have done things differently if you could go back? Like you say, particular event, something happens.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've been through the results of that. Maybe you would do differently then.
I would definitely.
Okay.
There's so many like events like in the past several months that I lost like my aunt and my boyfriend and everyone, and there was some certain like point that I kept like blaming myself of not really helping them or be good to them enough, like I feel like I can do better, like I can be better version of myself. I can help them, or I can it might sound like too much to say for just a small person, but it's like I feel like I can save their lives. For example, my aunt, if I help her like learning more about nutrition, she might be like live longer, or the cancer might be cured. If she's like fully vegan or eat healthy vegans, but it's a long story. It's like the doctor said something.
It's a very classical story.
It's
Yeah.
actually that's
Yeah.
great because we have some, there's the theory, there's a reason why we believe this, for we entertain it being true. I have many of those. And one of the meditations we do is we rewrite them. So I have a specific memory, I go back, but this time I do it with everything I know now. Because back then my knowledge was limited. Now what I know, I go back into that. And now next month, if I remember that event again, I'll probably do it even a little bit differently. Because I'm even yet a month of a newer person.
You write them in your mind?
So I go right there. I mean, I'm driving in a car and I get angry and I yell and I say something mean. Well, I don't get angry this time. Whatever.
Yeah.
But then I say specific things. It's at least a 5-minute meditation, so a lot of details happen. And I do that with every memory I have that comes to me. And sometimes I'm the victim, sometimes I'm the perpetrator. But I do each one differently. Now there's a reason I do this. One, it feels good. But there's a far more interesting reason, and that's that we really have no idea what's going on in the universe. There's a theory of time that all time happens all the time. It's called black time. It's a legitimate theory. Well, there's a possibility that I am in fact changing reality. So why would I not want to do that? If there's a possibility, and I can support it with some arguments from modern science and research, the question is, if all time happens all the time, can we communicate with these different times? Because we have a very limited view of time as this linear process that goes from past to future. But that's debatable. And there's a theory of time that it doesn't go from past to future, it actually goes from future to the past. And I can show you the research paper that was produced in 2012 and validated in 2015. So we don't really know. So we do it again. And there's a possibility that we're actually changing some reality somewhere in this universe. For sure it makes me feel better. But it's a never-ending process because I just remember more and more. And then who knows what's happening out there or in there or wherever there is. So yeah, that's how it's a very effective. But then you learn about yourself too, because by going back and doing it differently, you realize who you are now. You can also forgive yourself for not being now then.
Yeah.
And that's,
Totally, this is really important, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
we have a saying that is, I didn't know better because I was Joe then, or whoever, I was Katarina then, or I was Lisa then. I wasn't who I am now. And that's biochemistry, actually. That's a good way to end here. Chemistry is boss, so we always change, even with age.
Yeah. And yeah, it makes says that like, hmm, and who I am now, it was because of who I was, right? Like Nana, like 4 months ago, did something that caused something that helps Nana now learn
Yeah.
something about
Right.
4 months Nana, right?
And,
So,
and here comes the whole science around we are what we believe.
mhm,
If I believe that I have this disease, I will keep it even if every cell in my body is new, which it actually is after, even with the bone structure, I think it's 7 years. 90% of the cells have changed within a year.
hmm.
The
Just 1
gut
year?
changes every 4th day. So in that we can actually dispute certain diseases should be cellularly gone within a year, if you see it from a metaphysical perspective. So to actually tell yourself that I do not have this disease, I'm being misdiagnosed, and I'm going to stay healthy and do everything that supports my health, to think like that and not think like I'm going to fight this, I'm going to, because then you keep your communication to yourself as having the disease. There's a lot of science that proves this. This is where all the affirmation business comes out. You are what you believe. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one. Why is that possible that you are what you believe? Because which comes first, who you are, or what you believe.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big question. It's not simple. So you see, this is actually that paper I'm talking about. It's actually a real paper produced at the University of Tel Aviv by 3 physicists. So it's not unreasonable to presume that because we're ignorant of how the universe works, we can take liberties within our mind to try to make it a better place, either in the future or the past, or even now.
This is like physics theory, like
Yeah, that's exactly. Well, it's all entangled these days. It's a very particular. See, all of this modern thinking about this. If you take Chopra and all of this stuff and all of this, you are what you believe thinking. It actually comes down to one interpretation of one experiment in physics, in the history of physics. And what it doesn't account for is all the other interpretations of that experiment. And so this is just one of the other interpretations, but you wouldn't come across that at the bookstore like you might these other guys. So that's all. It's open. It's still open field. We don't really know everything. And so I just wanted you to see that I'm not making it up. So these guys can